Hi everybody, how you doing? Today we are going to be talking about the 10 pages a day or 5 pages a day reading challenge. And this is something that you can do for 1 month or 6 months or a year or for the rest of your life. But it's very helpful if you always find yourself just too busy to get to the books that you want to read. There is a way that you can actually grapple these books in a busy schedule and get them done, get them read, and actually make progress on your reading. So the secret is very simple. Each day, depending on the kind of book that you're reading, if it's sort of a lighter book, if you can read 10 pages a day, or if it's a heavier book, you can read 5 pages a day. If it's a lighter book, 10 pages a day in 1 month will get you through a 300-page book. So if you have that novel that you wanted to get to, if you actually just gave yourself that 10 pages a day in 1 month, you would get that 300-page novel read. And if you kept to it for a year, you would read 12 300-page books every year by just reading 10 pages a day. And then you'd half it, obviously, if you like heavier books, or if 10 pages a day is just too much of a stretch, just because you got a full-time job, you got the kids and the chores, and it's just you can't get 10 pages a day. 5 pages a day will get you at least 6 books that are 300 pages in length done a year, which is actually okay if you're really busy, if you got a lot going on. So let's start with something light. If you're really busy, where the sidewalk ends. You've had a long day, work is hard, you've got the kids, you've got all the chores. While you're sitting in bed before you fall asleep, if you read 10 little poems, where the sidewalk ends is 166 pages. You would get this done if you read 10 pages a day within 17 days. Another light one, fun, Dad is Fat. So Jim Gaffigan, this is filled with laughs and humor. Light read, fun read, very good if you're stressed out, if life is hard. That's when these kinds of books are great. And Jim Gaffigan goes on for 270 pages. Within a month, in 27 days, if you read 10 pages a day, you would finish this book. And if you think, well, Shel Silverstein's for kids, and I don't really read, fluffy stuff or stuff that's just supposed to be funny. I want something with a little bit more teeth to it. Wastelands. This is a compilation of short stories of the apocalypse. But these are fascinating science fiction stories, and some of the authors include Orson Scott Card and Stephen King. Great short stories for the science fiction fans out there. Big book with a number of stories in it. 330 pages in 33 days. If you read 10 pages a day, in 33 days you get through this book. What about nonfiction? Well, I've got Jefferson's America, The President, The Purchase, and the Explorers Who Transformed a Nation by Julie Fenster. This book is about 370 pages. In 37 days, if you read 10 pages a day, you would get this book done. 37 days. Think about what you can do in 1 month by reading 10 pages a day. You would learn all about Thomas Jefferson. You would learn all about the United States in its infancy. You would learn about the early 19th century. You would learn about geography. You'd learn about the explorers in early America. And that would all be done in 1 month on 10 pages a day. I love this series. This is the Oxford Very Short Introductions. So this is Confucianism by Daniel Gardner. Now these are little books, and if you really like to dig into a specific subject, you may very well be able to get through 10 pages a day. Now, something like Confucianism, when I read this was really my first foray into China in terms of its history and at the sort of the political and the social, cultural landscape. So for me, 10 pages a day may have been a little bit of a stretch. This may have been more of a 5 pages a day kind of book, just because everything was brand new. Now it's a little book. These Oxford books they're always meant to be shorter books, but they are very dense in terms of the amount of information that they have, because these are world experts. It's 120 pages. If you read 10 pages a day, you would get this book done in 12 days. It would be 24 days if you did 5 pages a day. And you would go from, in 12 days, think about what you would do. In 12 days, you would go from knowing, if you were like me and this would be your first book about China, you would go from knowing essentially nothing about China. And in 12 days, you would have a pretty good idea of the basic outline of Confucianism. You would know about the 5th century BC in China. You'd start to be putting dots together, and that's just in 12 days. Now, like I said, a book with a lot of new information, like this was a lot of new information for me. Maybe 5 pages a day is more realistic, but in that case, it's 120 pages, 24 days within a month, and just in 24 days, you would have this book done. Another example of a denser book that might be more of a 5 pages a day would be something that's sort of like an academic press kind of book. And this is Hannibal, A Hellenistic Life by Eve MacDonald. This is a wonderful book for people that like world history, ancient history, archaeology. So this is about Hannibal of Carthage and the great struggle between the Carthaginians and the Romans for control of the Mediterranean. This may be a 5 pages a day kind of a book. Some of these academic books, these heavy nonfiction academic books, they look sort of intimidating. It's a thick book, however, this much of it here is bibliography. And so this is the actual text here, and the text is 238 pages. If you were sort of familiar with Roman history or ancient history, you might be able to do the 10 pages a day, and you would be done with this in 24 days. If this was sort of your first foray into the Mediterranean, this would be more of a 5 pages a day. So this might take more like a month and a half to get through, but you'd still get through it. And think about, in a month and a half, how fast time goes when you're really busy. In that amount of time, that book that's been sitting on the shelf will be done, and you'll actually get to it and you can accomplish it. So I recommend, if you are a busy person, if you've got the job, the kids, the house chores, instead of looking at that big book on the shelf that you've always wanted to read, instead of seeing it as something to do all at once, break it up into, I'm just going to read 10 pages a day. And if you do 10 pages a day, more than likely you'll be able to get that book done that's been sitting on that shelf forever. You'll be able to get it done in a month, or if it's a really long one, a month and a half. Thank you so much for watching. Visit your local library, get a good book. Thank you so much. Have a good day. Bye.